Ruby's best friend from childhood had never been in a relationship, so she took it upon herself, like a big sister, to plan the perfect Christmas date for him. But while they were on their date, the villa accidentally caught fire. Trapped in the thick smoke, I was hit in the chest by a falling vase and seriously injured on the spot. Ruby, supporting a weak, unconscious Vincent, stepped right over me, not daring to let him go for a second. I tried to grab her pant leg to beg for help, but she kicked my hand away. Crawl out yourself. You're a mute anyway, so a little smoke won't hurt you. Don't ruin Vincent's mood. I was rushed to the hospital. When I woke up from my hospital bed, I was completely alone. I saw on Vincent's social feed that he'd posted about a new luxury home and the bare back of a familiar woman. She said she's getting me a home to make up for how scared I was today. I opened my mouth and offered a silent blessing. I sent a text to my brother, a doctor I hadn't contacted in a long time. I lost. I'll come back and start the treatment just like you said. My brother immediately sent back a long string of voice messages, his relief impossible to hide. Good. You're finally willing to forget her. Come to Germany in a week. I'll send over the treatment plan for you to look at. Behind me, a Maybach let out several impatient honks. Only then did I notice it and turn to look. It was Ruby. Her slender hand was draped casually out the window, her delicate brow furrowed. Sunglasses hid her eyes. But it was obvious she was extremely unhappy. Who are you texting? I called your name a few times and you didn't hear me. You're mute, not deaf. I dropped everything at work to pick you up from the hospital, and you're just going to ignore me? I closed the chat window, gave her a slight shake of my head, and reached for the passenger side door. She slapped my hand away and threw a single phrase over her shoulder. Sit in the back. My hand instantly turned bright red, and a dull ache shot straight to my heart. I didn't ask why like I used to. Instead, I obediently got into the back seat. Perhaps seeing how compliant I was, her temper suddenly cooled. The car pulled away slowly, leaving the hospital behind. The silence in the car was suffocating. Ruby cleared her throat and asked how I was doing. About the fire yesterday. Good thing the villa has a sprinkler system. You weren't hurt, were you? Her expression held a hint of guilt, but I didn't say anything. She continued, Vincent's family and mine have been close for generations. If something happened to him at my house, I'd never be able to face his dad. Besides, all you did was inhale a little smoke. You're fine. Vincent, on the other hand, has such a kind heart. He was worried sick about you and insisted I come get you. I touched my chest, which was throbbing with pain under a thick layer of bandages. Felt like a part of my heart was missing, too. She noticed my mood and detoured to a trendy, popular restaurant. As we walked out of the parking garage, she squeezed my palm. Then she pulled my hand to her cheek. Why are you so cold? I looked down and fell right into her deep, affectionate eyes. My heart skipped a beat. It was those eyes that had captivated me when we first met, making me fall helplessly in love with her for 7 years. Through all the painful, scarring struggles, those eyes were like an abyss, constantly luring me in like a moth to a flame. Gradually, they became the world that imprisoned me. I pulled my hand back. She froze for a second, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. Haven't you always wanted to try the cake here? Come on, let's go in. Because it was Christmas time, the restaurant was running a special for couples. First-time couples visiting our shop get a discount. Just scan the QR code right here to check in. At the server's enthusiastic recommendation, Ruby took out her phone. All right, let's check in then. After the page loaded, I saw the words already participated on her screen. The waiter looked awkward, and the way he glanced at me was strange. Ruby quickly put her phone away, defensively explaining, Oh, I remember now. My little brother Vincent loves this cake, so I let him use my account to get a discount. The list of signature cakes was dazzling. It suddenly reminded me of my birthday, when I'd worked so late I felt my blood sugar crash. When I got home, there was a cake on the table, an exquisite black forest cake. I had just unwrapped it when Ruby rushed out of the bathroom in a towel. She was wearing Chanel perfume and, without a second thought, gave me a shove. Why are you so greedy? That's a gift for someone else. The air around her, even from the force of her push, was thick with the lingering scent of perfume. The perfume Vincent had given her. I tugged on Ruby's sleeve and signed simply, "Let's go. I don't feel like eating anymore." Back in the car, Ruby took out her phone to look for other restaurants. A message from Vincent popped up. "I miss you." Our profile pictures were a matching pair, but Vincent's was the little teddy bear held by the cartoon character in Ruby's picture. I protested when he changed it. Ruby had just brushed me off. If he wants to use that avatar, let him. She scrolled through her phone for a moment before claiming all the nearby restaurants were booked, then switched back to her chat with Vincent and sent a hugging emoji. I looked down, saying nothing. There were plenty of restaurants nearby. She just suddenly didn't have time for me anymore. My brother sent over the treatment plan, telling me to read it carefully. "Leo, are you sure about this? I tried to convince you so many times before, but you always said you didn't want to forget Ruby. Once the treatment starts, she'll be a complete stranger to you." I signed it without a moment's hesitation. Meanwhile, Ruby, thinking I hadn't taken the hint, just lied outright. "Why don't you grab a cab back to the villa and pack your things? Something came up at the office, I have to run." She dropped me on the side of the road and sped off to find Vincent. I didn't have many things, so packing was easy, especially since most of my stuff had been destroyed in the fire. Just as I finished, the door was kicked open by Ruby. She grabbed my luggage and dragged me out, her mood even fouler than before. "The police found your razor charger at the fire's origin point. Tell me, did you set it on purpose? So I neglected you for a little while? Is that any reason to get so jealous you try to burn the house down?" I quickly tried to explain using sign language. "Just looking at your hands annoys me, waving around like flies. You just wanted to make Vincent a mute like you and ruin his career, didn't you? I just wanted him to experience what it's like to be in a relationship. I gave you my heart and soul for 5 years, and you're still not satisfied." I looked at her furious expression, completely defeated, and gave up trying to defend myself. In a week, we'd be strangers anyway. What was the point of arguing now? Seeing my calm expression, she sneered. "I knew it. You'd never just admit you were wrong. I see you've had it too good living with me." She shoved me and my luggage into the trunk, slammed on the gas, and drove to a rundown apartment in a rough part of town. The place was dilapidated and filled with the smell of mold. "This is your punishment. The villa might not be worth much, but you really crossed the line this time. If I let you keep acting out your jealousy like this, today it's the house, who knows what it'll be next." She clapped her hands together and tossed me inside. Then she took a handkerchief from her purse, meticulously wiped her fingers, and scanned the room with disgust. "Your mind is filthy anyway. A dump like this suits you." The apartment was clearly unsafe. I frantically tried to type on my phone to explain that I didn't know anything about the fire, but the hand she'd slapped earlier was throbbing. Before I could even finish, she left without a shred of mercy. "Think about what you've done." The rickety wooden door slammed shut behind her, plunging the room into darkness. I turned off my phone. Tears filled my eyes, and the room was once again consumed by darkness. The next morning, my alarm went off. I sat up, my whole body aching. I realized I'd fallen asleep leaning against my luggage. I rubbed my face with a faint, bitter smile and looked at my haggard reflection in the phone's front-facing camera. Only a few more days until I'd see my brother. I couldn't let him think I'd been mistreated. I teach culinary arts at a vocational college. My fingers were a little swollen, and I was debating whether to call in sick. I put a pot of soup on the small stove. Just as I was thinking of an excuse to take the day off, Ruby called. "Make a pot of yam and lotus seed soup. I'll be over to pick it up later." I used to make every meal for her, going to the market early to pick out the freshest ingredients for her soup. Over time, she got used to it. Even now, after kicking me out of the villa, she still ordered me around as if nothing had changed. Usually, she only asked for it when she'd been out schmoozing late and had a sore throat. A little later, I heard Vincent's laughter from outside. "Ugh, there's an open sewer here. So gross." But the smile froze on his face when he saw me. "Is the soup ready?" I ignored them and, abandoning the idea of calling in sick, decided to just head out. Vincent snuck up behind me, opened the lid of the clay pot on the stove, and reached right for it. He yelped, "Ow!" and Ruby immediately rushed forward in a panic and grabbed him. She knocked over the clay pot in the process. The hot soup splashed onto my skin, instantly raising a cluster of shocking red blisters. A suffocating pain hit me a moment later. I rushed to the sink to run cold water over it, but of course the water was shut off for pipe maintenance. "I'm sorry, Ruby," Vincent said. "I was just so eager to try the soup." Ruby anxiously looked him over. "It's okay, as long as you're not hurt. Just be more careful next time." She turned back and frowned when she saw me sucking in sharp breaths of pain. "Make another pot for Vincent. I'll call in sick for you." I blinked back tears and shook my head. Her brow immediately clouded with anger. "I hate it when you put on that pathetic victim act. You can't even say a word. The doctors looked at you and said your vocal cords are fine. Are you just pretending to be a mute to get my sympathy?" I just stared at her silently, my whole body trembling with a pain that felt like I'd been scalded from the inside out. I raised my hand and slowly signed, "I'll find a way to get it treated." Ruby snorted. "You'll get it treated? How?" I looked at her face, so familiar yet so strange, and my eyes burned with unshed tears. "Ruby, I'm really letting go of our memories. If it were possible, I would wish I'd never met you." Ruby left with Vincent. I took the morning off to treat my burns. While waiting for the bus, I saw Vincent sitting in the passenger seat of Ruby's car. Ruby shot me a cold look. "He brought it on himself," she said dismissively. "Ignore him." Then she stepped on the gas and sped away. I stared down at my shoes. The festering wound on my ankle was covered in ointment, but it still stung. Vincent and I worked at different campuses of the same school. Ruby never gave me a ride to work. She said we had to be discreet and told me not to reveal her identity. But then she turned around and used her influence to get Vincent a job as a music teacher at the school. It was raining, and my pant legs were soaked. When I got to school, my colleagues were gossiping. The boss drove Vincent to school again. "You think they're a couple?" One of them nudged the other. "Hey, her real partner is Leo. He's mute, not deaf, so keep it down." I went straight to the principal's office to hand in my resignation. The principal was Ruby's aunt, so I knew she'd tell Ruby about it immediately. But what did it matter? Ruby would just think I was throwing a tantrum. As I neared the office door, I heard hushed voices from inside. "You two were so close, you grew up together. I thought you'd marry him," the principal said, confused. "So how did you end up with a mute? You used to be obsessed with that one singer. Said you'd only marry a man with a clear, beautiful voice." Ruby was silent for a long moment. "He saved my life," she said finally. "You have to repay your debts." I clutched the hem of my shirt, unable to listen anymore, and fled. The clouds hung heavy and damp in the sky, like a sheet of plastic wrap pulled tight over the world. After class, I was leaving the school grounds in a daze when I ran into Ruby. "Come on," she said. "Let's go take a look at the suit we ordered." I froze, looking at her in confusion. "Aren't you injured? Once you've healed up, the suit won't look as good." I wanted to refuse, but her expression soured with impatience, and she pulled me forcefully into the car. At the formal wear shop, a staff member beamed and showed me a suit to try on. "Mr. Vincent, this suit was custom ordered 6 months ago. Your fiancé is so thoughtful." Hearing the name, I paused, my hand retracting before it could touch the suit. Then I heard laughter from the next fitting room. "Ruby, is this the groomsman's suit you picked out for me?" I immediately asked the staff member to help me out of the suit. Looking at the gorgeous garment, he asked regretfully, "Your fiancé hasn't even seen it on you. Don't you want to see the look on her face?" I shook my head. 3 minutes later, Ruby emerged with her arm linked through Vincent's, her clothes slightly disheveled. She asked me, "So, are you satisfied?" I signed back, "That one's fine." The staff member gave me a pitying look. I was used to it. I just sat quietly to the side, sipping my tea. Ruby paid for both suits with her card. Vincent got off work early, so I had him come try on the groomsman's suit. "Since you won't have any family at the wedding anyway, he can just be your best man." I shook my head, refusing. Vincent looked hurt. Leo, do you have a problem with me? I even prepared a special performance for your wedding. Ruby loves to hear me sing. I remained impassive. Ruby yanked me up from the sofa, gripping my wrist tightly in a threatening hold. Vincent is trying to be considerate, and you're acting all reluctant. If you don't want to go through with this wedding, then let's just call it off. I met her gaze calmly. I couldn't see any love in her eyes anymore, only annoyance. I nodded. Okay. Her grip tightened, making me wince. You were so in love with me before. Weren't you dying to marry me? What are you playing at now? The wedding invitations have already been sent out. If you hadn't thrown that tantrum and set that fire, we could have been at the villa, happily preparing for the wedding. It was true. I used to love her so much, and I longed for the day she'd propose. But now, all that hope and devotion had been ground down to nothing. I had nothing left to hold on to. The cheap apartment was drafty. It was winter now, and I could only huddle under the covers, rubbing my swollen, red hands. Many years ago, when she confessed her love for me, she promised she'd marry me in a snowy winter. She'd broken her promises so many times since then I assumed she'd forgotten something as small as that. Lying on the hard bed, I glanced at the flight information on my phone in the moonlight. An early morning flight tomorrow. Several messages popped up at the top of my screen. Sorry bro, just borrowing your girl for one more night. She'll be back to you tomorrow. Ruby said she wants to teach me a few things for the wedding night in advance. She's so thoughtful. I'm so jealous you get to marry her. I clicked the phone off, plunging myself into darkness. The last sliver of moonlight slipped away from the narrow window, leaving no light in the room at all. More than the wedding I'd once anticipated so many times, I was worried the snowstorm would delay my flight. Ruby, I don't want to marry you anymore. The next day, Ruby arrived at the hotel reception with Vincent on her arm. I'm looking for Leo. I'm sorry, ma'am. We have no guest named Leo registered here. Ruby's brow furrowed, and she let out a sneer. Looks like he's still sulking. Is that what this is about? He wants me to come pick him up? She called me countless times, but every call went unanswered. For the first time, her messages were met with total silence. Her anger mounted, layer by layer, until she was cursing out loud. So dramatic. I guess he doesn't want to get married after all. Are you sure you got the time right? Vincent asked. Ruby said nothing, her gaze icy. She drove straight to the rundown apartment, only to find the door wide open and a crowd of neighbors gossiping. Whoa, I heard this place was robbed last night. The doors broken and everything. The landlord couldn't rent it out for 3 years. Who'd be brave enough to live here? Someone should call the cops. A flicker of panic crossed Ruby's face. She forced herself to stay calm and pushed her way through the crowd, rushing into the room. All she found was a large pool of blood on the floor. Leo! Leo! Her calls grew more and more frantic as she spun around the room like a headless chicken, searching inside and out. A resident she'd shoved aside grumbled, "Who is this woman?" Hearing the question, Ruby's entire body went rigid with fury. She grabbed the man by the collar and squeezed the words out through her teeth. "I'm his fiancé. We're getting married today." All the fight seemed to drain out of Ruby. Her chest heaved as she panted, muttering something under her breath. She tore the room apart but found that I hadn't taken anything with me. I had just vanished into thin air. A terrible thought popped into her head. She pulled out her phone to report a kidnapping, but then her eyes fell on some torn pieces of paper in the trash can she'd kicked over. She scrambled to pick them up and saw it was a medical report for a serious injury, dated a few days prior. She read it over and over, her eyes widening in disbelief. She grabbed a person standing nearby and demanded, "What does this say?" "It's a report for a serious injury. Internal bleeding, 3 broken ribs. He almost died." "What's wrong with you? Can't you read?" A strange feeling stirred in Ruby's heart. She stared at the paper, stubbornly ignoring the date. Leo must have gotten hurt in an accident. No, this blood is fresh. He must have been kidnapped. Or maybe he ran away because he felt guilty about his injuries healing and couldn't face me. The people around her listened in disbelief to her self-deceiving theories as she twisted the facts over and over until they fit a story she could accept. Finally, the police arrived and pulled the surveillance footage from the street corner. Ruby stared at the printed screenshot from the video, on the verge of a breakdown. In the image, I was walking away alone, carrying only a small handbag. How is that possible? Our wedding is today. He's always wanted to marry me. How could he leave me? Just then, Vincent, who had been waiting at the hotel and came looking for Ruby when she didn't return, showed up. After figuring out what was happening, he said with feigned concern, "Ruby, the ceremony has already started. The press releases and invitations have all gone out. Now he suddenly disappears? He's trying to humiliate you." His eyes darted around, and he wrapped his arms around Ruby. His face flushed a little. "Ruby, we already rehearsed yesterday, didn't we? If you don't mind, I'm willing to marry you." Her vacant gaze fell on him. The royal cufflinks on his sleeves seemed to mock her. They were the ones she had won at an auction for me, worth millions, but I had almost never worn them, keeping them carefully preserved in a jewelry box. And here was Vincent, having casually dug them out and put them on. Ruby was furious. She reached out and ripped the cufflinks right off his sleeves. Before Vincent could even speak, Ruby's chilling glare froze him on the spot. "My husband can only be him. I taught you about love so you could experience it, not so you could try to take his place." For the next few months, she searched for me like a madwoman, offering a huge reward for any information on my whereabouts. But I had almost no friends in the country. The closest person to me was her, and if even she didn't know where I was, no one else would. Meanwhile, I had landed at the Berlin airport. My brother was waiting for me outside, dressed in a light gray trench coat. He opened his arms and pulled me into a pained hug, his first words choked with emotion. When he heard what I'd been through, he was speechless with anger for a long time. He gently stroked my hair. "If you had never met her, none of this would have happened." I buried my face in his warm embrace and cried silently. My brother laid out a treatment plan for me, a long-term course of repeated hypnosis. The goal was to make me forget the trauma I had experienced, forget the unfortunate past that led to me losing my voice after saving Ruby, and, of course, to forget Ruby completely. A year later, Ruby, who had nearly driven herself mad searching for me, happened to see an interview with me on an international music program. She was sitting at a bar, drinking herself numb, when she looked up and saw my face on the screen. She rubbed her eyes in disbelief, while my gentle, clear voice flowed like a mountain spring. "That's Leo, the genius singer-songwriter who just made a comeback in Germany. You listen to his song Wilderness all the time, don't you? I think he had some kind of accident later on. Hasn't sung in 7 or 8 years. Now he's back and at the top of his game again. A bunch of movies are asking him to do their soundtracks." The bar owner was a friend of Ruby's and would often chat with her when he wasn't busy. Ruby didn't hear the rest of his rambling. She immediately shot up and rushed to the airport. Her heart, once gray and dead, started beating again. Her fingers trembled and grew hot with the joy of finding what was lost, fumbling with her keys several times. Her driver came over and steadied her. Sitting in the car, she felt a mix of joy and despair. So Leo was my favorite singer all along. Why did he never tell me? And I kept taunting him about his voice. Her confused thoughts churned over and over until she was sitting in the VIP lounge at the airport, the faint buzz of the alcohol completely gone. Backstage at a concert rehearsal, my brother came to pick me up early from work. Across the street stood a person, her face slightly thinner, but her eyes shockingly bright. I looked quizzically at my brother's slowly clenching fists. "Do you know her?" He let out a contemptuous sneer. "Know her? She's my enemy." Ruby ran toward us, calling my name. She tried to take my hand, but my brother swatted it away. "Get lost. How did you find us here?" Ruby's eyes were fixed only on me, a storm of emotions churning within them. I tilted my head, curious. "And you are?" Ruby froze, only then noticing how close my brother and I were standing. She bit her lip, but the bitterness of jealousy and suspicion spilled out. "You were faking it the whole time, weren't you?" You played me for a fool. Do you have any idea that I spent a year looking for you like a pathetic dog? You could talk the whole time, so why didn't you tell me? My brother grabbed the distraught woman, looking down at her with contempt. I'm his brother. Leo has just recovered his voice, and in the process, he's completely forgotten the person who caused his psychological trauma. Ruby suppressed the helplessness in her eyes and asked relentlessly, Leo loved me so much back then. How could he forget me? I was the most important person in his life. I don't care what you two called each other, but he's my future husband. My brother's face went cold as he pulled me behind him, shielding me from Ruby's sight. Not all sibling relationships are as disgusting as yours and Vincent's. Ruby's face turned pale. She tried to argue, but I just yawned. Bro, let's go. It's your birthday soon. I've already ordered all the ingredients to make you that beef soup you love. Ruby let out a low snarl and tried to block us, but security held her back. She collapsed to her knees, completely broken. Every year on her birthday, I used to make her soup. Now, all of it was just another unfamiliar blow to her. The next day, my brother was called in for an emergency case, so I prepared to head out on my own. As I walked into the underground garage, a hand clamped over my mouth. I'm calling the police, I yelled, my voice muffled. I'm your fiancé.
I'm Ruby.
Leo, I was wrong. I've cut off all contact with Vincent. Please forgive me, okay? Stop pretending you have amnesia just to mess with me. The woman's anguish didn't seem fake, but I was still confused, trying to remember if I knew her at all. All she saw in my eyes was bewilderment. In the struggle, the treatment forms in my bag scattered across the floor. I had been undergoing psychological treatment for a full year, and today was my follow-up appointment with the doctor. The checkup form stated that my memories related to Ruby were now almost completely gone. Ruby traced the words with her finger, reading them over and over, a bitter taste growing in her mouth. She looked up, her face streaked with tears. Did you hate me that much? But you were the one who was in the wrong. If you hadn't set that fire, we'd be married today. While she was reading the report, I secretly called my brother for help. But Ruby noticed my subtle movement immediately. Her face turned ashen as she smashed my phone on the ground. I don't care what you've forgotten. I will make you remember me. That damn man must have tricked you. He kidnapped you while we were fighting. I won't let him get away with it. She took me back to her country, back to the villa where we used to live. I walked around the house, still confused. I really don't remember this place. Ruby's lips parted, her face pale. She wanted to explain, but she couldn't. After the fire, the entire villa had been redecorated from top to bottom according to Vincent's tastes. And walking slowly down the spiral staircase was Vincent himself, dressed in pajamas. Vincent's face went white when he saw me. Ruby, this is the man who left without a word and made you drink yourself sick with worry. Ruby cut his accusation short. Didn't I tell you to get lost? Why are you back here? Ruby had her bodyguards throw Vincent out. He screamed a final taunt at me as he was dragged away. This whole house is filled with memories of me and Ruby. Let's see how long you can stand it. During this time, Ruby consulted every leading medical expert she could find, asking how to restore our shared memories. After getting her answer, she took me to all the places we had gone together back then. But I remained completely unmoved. Ruby started pulling up old surveillance footage, showing it to me with anticipation. I had this painstakingly restored. If you watch our daily life in the villa, you'll surely remember how happy we were. The footage played on day after day. The man in the videos clearly had my face, but I felt nothing but a sense of alienation. Our happiness was just me cooking for you? I asked, pointing to the repetitive morning routine on the screen. My question stunned Ruby. I asked you about it back then, she said. You told me that seeing me eat happily made you happy. I shook my head. I don't feel that way now. If this is what you want me to remember, then I don't see the point. Ruby nervously tried to stop me from leaving, wanting me to keep watching. There's more, she explained, her words jumbled. The timeline reached the day of the fire. I was in the kitchen, bustling about preparing a candlelight dinner for them. A short-circuiting wire sparked and set the carpet on fire, and the flames began to spread. As Vincent fled in a panic, he knocked over a cabinet, and a teetering vase fell and struck me, spilling blood all over the floor. Ruby, who had rushed over after getting the news, burst into the dining room and immediately scooped Vincent into her arms, not even sparing me a glance. I watched silently as the woman's face turned ugly, her eyes filled with deep, agonizing pain. She immediately slapped herself twice in self-reproach and knelt before me. She apologized frantically, vowing to make Vincent pay. But her pretty face, full of guilt and emotion, now just looked hideous to me. I just shook my head slightly. She fell into complete despair, her eyes flooded with a desperate madness. Our wedding never happened. We should have it now. I'll change. I'll spend the rest of my life making you happy. I tried to leave, but she locked me in the villa. I have no feelings for you, Ruby. You're holding me against my will. This is a crime. She grabbed my hand and forced a matching wedding band onto my finger. She rubbed my hand against her cheek with a sigh of satisfaction. You loved me for so many years. You should continue to love me now. This is how it's supposed to be. Her expression was one of rapturous obsession. It gave me goosebumps. This bizarre sense of unfamiliarity terrified me, especially when I woke up in the middle of the night to find her watching me gently, her fingers brushing through my hair. She forced me to sleep in the same bed with her but didn't do anything to me. During my days in the villa, she busied herself planning the wedding, placing a scrapbook in front of me. Leo, do you remember this? It's the collection of wedding ideas you started putting together right after we started dating. I frowned and looked away. She keenly sensed a change and pressed me eagerly. You remember, don't you? I knew you'd remember me. I'm the one you love the most. Her warm breath was on my face. I felt sick and slapped her. Yes, I remember now. I remember you choosing to carry him out during the fire, leaving me to crawl out like a dog. I remember you and Vincent changing your profile pictures to a matching set behind my back and telling me you were just helping him get used to having a girlfriend. And I remember you saying you were only marrying me to repay me for saving your life. My words left her utterly humiliated, but she still refused to let go. It's okay, you can blame me. As long as you remember me, don't forget me. Vincent has never been in a relationship, that's why he doesn't understand boundaries. As his big sister, it was hard for me to say anything. I just wanted to protect his innocence until he found his true love. But it won't happen again. I swear. I laughed mockingly. Haven't you figured it out? You're his true love. Her face was ashen as I pushed her out of the room. She pounded on the door, yelling, "Don't you remember our birthday on the Ferris wheel? You wished that we could spend every single year together." That talk of birthdays reminded me. She'd told me she forgot to get me a birthday cake that day. Later, I saw an intimate post on Vincent's social feed. A picture of Ruby's hand with a dab of cream on it, and Vincent licking her fingertip. Cake is sweeter when big sis feeds it to you. I had asked her to order that cake a week in advance. I had been looking forward to it for so long. So many things in the end just come to nothing. At this point, I have no expectations for her whatsoever. As I was about to fall asleep, a letter was slipped under my door. Inside were a few photos and a single sentence. Whether your amnesia is real or fake, Ruby and I are made for each other. Everyone has said we're the perfect match since we were kids. By the way, I bet you didn't know this. When Ruby was looking for you, she couldn't stand the loneliness and had me dress up as you and sleep with her. So tell me, does she love you or does she love me? Ruby, who was showering in the bathroom, heard the noise and rushed out wrapped in a towel. She saw the photos scattered on the floor and her lips trembled as she tried to explain. Leo, I was just drunk that night. I shook my head. It's okay. I forgive you. Her eyes lit up instantly, a smile touching her lips, but my next words were like a bucket of ice water poured over her head. Just let me go. I don't care about any of this. She rushed forward and hugged me, hot tears falling on my collarbone. Like a child throwing a tantrum, she repeated over and over, "No, I won't let you go. Hit me. Curse me. Do whatever you want to let off steam, as long as you stay by my side." The next day, She drugged me with something that left my muscles weak and helped me into my wedding suit. On my back, she discovered the massive network of scars from the burns and the impact, a shocking sight. Looking at the perfectly tailored suit I had once so eagerly awaited, she suddenly doubled over and began to sob, punching herself repeatedly. Leo, I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. As long as you stay with me, you'll remember how much I love you. I will heal every one of your past traumas. Please just trust me, okay? I said nothing, offering only passive resistance. Whatever I said, she would ignore it, just like she did when I couldn't speak. On the day of the wedding, she helped me to the center of the altar. The large screen behind us was playing a video of Vincent singing. Ruby's face went white, and she tried to get the officiant to turn it off. But Vincent rushed out from backstage, holding a dagger to his chest. Ruby, if you insist on marrying him, I'll die right here, today. The guests stared at each other in confusion. Ruby spoke coldly, give up. The only true love of my life is Leo. Vincent's hand trembled, and the tip of the dagger broke his skin. Blood seeped through his suit, dripping down his chest. At that moment, my brother appeared. He walked onto the stage, coldly observing the farce. Because of the invitations and the wedding, my brother had finally managed to find me. As soon as I saw him, I pulled my hand free from Ruby's grasp. She grabbed me again, her voice pleading, "You'd rather go with him than accept the happiness that's right in front of you? I'm the one you're about to marry." I looked at her calmly. "You're just a stranger to me now. Falling in love with you was the biggest mistake of my life. I should have just let those thugs kill you back then." Ruby was heartbroken, desperately clutching my hand. Beside her, Vincent was bleeding more and more, his face growing paler as he begged, "Ruby, look at me." Ruby didn't even glance at him, just impatiently snarled, "Get lost." Her eyes were fixed on me as she apologized frantically. "Leo, I'm sorry. I was just fooled by his act, his fake naivety. He means nothing to me. Not even a single hair on your head." Vincent's eyes, filled with a mixture of sorrow and rage, locked onto me. He raised the dagger and lunged. Ruby threw herself in front of me. The blade sank into her shoulder, and a droplet of blood splattered onto her eyelashes. When she blinked, it left a trail like a bloody tear. The guests, who had just been watching the drama unfold, screamed and called the police. Ruby hissed in pain but forced out the words, "Can you give me one more chance?" No, I had already given her countless chances. This kind of disappointment doesn't happen in an instant. It wasn't a single snowflake that caused the avalanche. The mountain of snow was already there, waiting to collapse. In the car, my brother looked at me, still shaken. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." They're the ones in trouble now. The gossip was already exploding on social media. A lot of people had been at the wedding, and the ridiculous story was spreading like wildfire. But what made it even bigger was the song Vincent had been singing. It was flagged for plagiarism, and fans of the original singer dug up all his dirt. The music competition he'd won back then, he'd been lip-syncing. Ruby had used her power to award him first place and get him into the finals. I closed my eyes and drifted off to the soothing music in the car. I was so tired. During the days Ruby held me captive, I hadn't gotten a single moment of peaceful sleep. In the sweet dream, the deepest waves of my sea of memories surged forth. I had been a genius composer, famous at a young age. I just finished my first original concert tour and was about to make my mark on the music world. After a city cultural exchange event, Ruby was targeted by business rivals. She was the upperclassman I'd had a crush on in college. When I saw what was happening, I didn't hesitate to create a diversion to help her escape. But in retaliation, I was kidnapped and held in a dark room for 3 days and 3 nights. When she came to rescue me, we were ambushed. I shielded her with my body. The trauma of the attack left me with PTSD, and I lost the ability to speak. She promised she would never let me be hurt again, but time and time again, she was the one who hurt me the most. "I will listen closely to the voice of your heart, no matter how quiet it is." But later, in the fire, her eyes were only for another man. My brother went to Germany to study medicine just to cure me, staying there for 8 years. 3 years ago, he told me there was nothing physically wrong with my vocal cords. If I could just erase the memory of the original traumatic event, my voice would naturally return. But back then, all I wanted was to be with Ruby. I couldn't imagine forgetting her. So I made a bet with my brother. I told him that Ruby and I would definitely get married and be together forever. I'll send you an invitation, so don't you dare back out, I'd said, nestled beside Ruby, thinking I had a firm grip on happiness. In reality, I knew I had lost a long time ago. I just stubbornly refused to admit it. But now I would never cling to her side again. I could finally admit with a clear head that I was a failure in love. After a successful opening night of my concert tour in Germany, I got some news from back home. Vincent had been sent to prison for assault, while Ruby was under investigation for abuse of power and financial crimes, which had uncovered even more misconduct within her company. I was now an accomplished singer, writing my own lyrics and music. I could do whatever I wanted, instead of letting Ruby assign me to a job as a culinary teacher at a school while mocking the music I occasionally wrote as a pale imitation of a real artist. The psychological treatment I had paused was also continuing. My world tour took me across 5 continents. At every show, in a corner seat in the front row, there was a gaunt figure dressed in the same outdated designer suit she'd worn for years. I was a little curious, so I would find myself glancing at her from time to time. Whenever our eyes met, she would light up like a candle flame. And when I looked away, a stranger once more, she would flicker out. Who was that? Probably just a fan. Another year passed, and I never saw her again. Where did she go? I don't know. Maybe she ran out of money for tickets. My concerts are impossible to get into now. I pressed the black and white keys and continued to sing. So spread your wings and learn how to fly. Through every green leaf on every single branch. Wherever the wind blows, that's where I'll fly,